Yashodanandana Rajajanarandana Yashodanandana Rajajanarandana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe Jaya Radha Rashti Hari Radha Rashti Hari Radhe Jaya Radha Krishna Chandra Radha Krishna Chandra Radhe Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Baladeva Jai Subhadra Jaya Sudarshana Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Ananta Dev Prahlad Narasimha Jaya Ananta Dev Jaya Gauranitai Gauranitai Jaya Nitai Chaitanya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jai Gurudev Jaya Jaya Gurudev Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Gaur Premanande Hari Bol Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajapacharya Stotra Shata His Divine Grace Abhay Sharanaravind Bhaktivedanta Swami Shri Prabhupada ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajapacharya Stotra Shata His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Shri Prabhupada ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki Jai Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur ki Jai Jai Shri Roop Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhattadas Raghunath Shat Goswami Prabhupada ki Jai प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण चंद्र गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन गिरिराज महाराज की जय हो मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जय मायापुर नदी धाम की जय श्री क्षेत्र श्री जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय द्वारिका धाम की जय गंगा माई की जय जमुना माई की जय कावेरी माई की जय भक्ति देवी की जय तुलसी महारानी की जय समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories and glories and glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Digaje Nasta Prayasya Vadreshu Nityam Bhagavatam Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangulum Gaitim Grimyat Prakatamam Mande Shri Gurudin Tarinam Paramanandam Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Hari Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna. So, welcome all the devotees to this Srimad Bhagavatam discussion on the 4th of January 2023. So today we're going to be reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 23. Chapter title is Devuti's Lamentation, and the text number that we're going to take today is text number 10. One second, let me project it on the screen for the benefit of all the devotees. Just give me 1 minute. Just give me 1 minute. It's not shared, so just check. Looks like there's some problem with my connection. Just give me 1 minute. Okay, let me get the slope on the screen. As we discussed, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 23, chapter titled Devhuti's Lamentation, and this is the 10th verse today that we want to take. Devahuti uvacha raddam batad vijavrisha eta amoga yoga maya adape tvai vipotat avnamim bharata yate abhyadya samaya shaktiranga sanga bhuyad garisyasi guna prasavah satinam Devahuti uvacha raddam batad vijavarsha etat amoga yoga maya adipe tvai vibhutat avami bharata yate abidyai samaya supata anga sanga uyat kriya siguna prasavaha satinam Devahuti uvacha Raddam batad vijavasha eta amoga yoga maya adipetvai vibhotat avami bharata yete avidyai samayah sakrat anga sanga uyad gariya siguna pravasaha satinam. Word to word translation. Devahuti uvacha, Devahuti said, Radham, it has been achieved, but indeed, Vijavisa, O best of the Brahmanas, Etat, this, Amoga, infallible, Yoga Maya, of mystic powers, Adipe, the master, Tvai, in you, Vibhu, O great one, Tat, that, Avyami, I know, Bharata, O husband. Ya that which te by you apyayai was given, samaya promise, sakrat once, anga sanga bodily union, uyat maybe, gariyasi with when very glorious, guna a great quality, prasava progeny, satinam of chaste woman. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Sri Devahuti said, "My dear husband, O best of Brahmanas, I know that you have achieved perfection and are the master of all infallible mystic powers because you are under the protection of Yogamaya, the transcendental nature. But you once made a promise that our bodily union should now fulfill, since children are great quality of a chaste woman who has a glorious husband." Purport. Devahuti expressed her happiness by uttering the word Bata, for she knew that her husband was a highly elevated transcendental position and was under the shelter of Yogamaya. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, those who are great souls, Mahatmas, are not under the control of material energy. The Supreme Lord has two energies, material and spiritual. The living entities are marginal energy. As marginal energy, a person may be under control of material energy or spiritual energy, Yogamaya. Kardam Muni was a great soul and therefore he was under the spiritual energy, which means that he was directly connected with the Supreme Lord. The symptoms of this is Krishna consciousness, constant engagement in devotional service. This was known to Devahuti, yet she was anxious to have a son by bodily union with the sage. She reminded her husband of his promise to his parents, "I will remain only until the time of Devahuti's pregnancy." She reminded him that for a chaste woman to have a child by a great personality is most glorious. She wanted to be pregnant and she prayed for that. The word Stri means expansion. By bodily union of the husband and wife, their qualities are expanded. Children born of good parents are expressions of parents' personal qualification. Both Kardama Muni and Devahuti were spiritually enlightened. Therefore, she desired from the beginning that first she be pregnant, then she be empowered with the achievements of God's grace and love of God. For a woman, it is a great ambition to have a son of same quality as highly qualified husband. Since she had the opportunity to have Kardam Muni as her husband, she also desired to have a child by bodily union. Om Tat Sat. That ends the Bhaktivedanta purport to 10th shloka of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 23, chapter titled Devahuti's Lamentation. Here Devahuti is speaking about it. Amagyana-timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagjatam Sahagana Gunatam Vitantam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarobhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Translation: Sri Devahuti said, "My dear husband, O best of Brahmanas, I know that you have achieved perfection and are the master of all infallible mystic powers because you are under the protection of Yogamaya, the transcendental nature. But you once made a promise that our bodily union should now fulfill, since children are a great quality for a chaste woman who has a glorious husband." Very nice purport. Devahuti is very clearly mentioning a couple of very important things. That first is she is identifying here that Kardam Muni is a great devotee of the Lord, and being a great devotee is a Mahatma. That is what is said here in the purport as well. And he is under the shelter of Yogamaya. Yogamaya, there are two energies: material energy and spiritual energy. Spiritual energy is Yogamaya. As human beings, as those who are in this material world, all of us are marginal energies. Sometimes we get into spiritual energy, sometimes we get into the material energy. So it is Kardam Muni who's under the shelter of Yogamaya. And this great souls who are not in control of material energy are also called the Mahatmas. And Kardam Muni was a great soul, and that's the reason he was under spiritual energy. That means he's directly connected with the Supreme Lord. And this is the symptom of a Krishna conscious person. A Krishna conscious person is constantly engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. And this was very well known to Mother Devhuti. And despite knowing this, she was very anxious. I'm sure some of us may ask this question, saying that why is he looking at, why is the sex life called glorious? Well, in the material world, sex life is compared to the worst of the things. But in the spiritual tandem of it, in the spiritual understanding, sex life is considered to be glorious because it is done only with an intent of procreation. When we say procreation, procreation is having a child who will become a devotee of the Lord. And that's why it is glorious as far as spiritual life is concerned. So here Devahuti is reminding Kardam Muni, saying that you have promised me that, with our bodily union, I would like to have a child, and this child will be the one who actually is spiritually enlightened, and he will also become the expansion of our family. And we've always seen, I'm sure in the course of discussion, we will also see a couple of other examples where we see the child gets the maximum quality of a father. So when the child gets the quality of the father, Kardam Muni here is a great devotee of the Lord, and so is Devahuti. And Devahuti is expecting that the child also becomes a great devotee like Kardam Muni. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam 5th canto, 5th chapter and text number 18, it says, Guru Nasatsayat Swajano Nasayat Pita Na Sayat Janani Na Sasayat. So here in the translation of that particular verse, it says, one cannot deliver his dependence from the path of repeated birth and death, should never become spiritual master, a father, a husband, a mother, or a worshipable demigod. It says even Daivam na tatsyan, na patischana syan. So a husband who cannot deliver his wife has no right, to even get married. So it is very important that, and this is advised by Rishabdev, and Rishabdev was talking about even a spiritual master who's not able to deliver his disciple has no right to become a spiritual master. So in this verse, Devahuti's expectation of becoming a mother and also expecting Kardam Muni to be a father is very important because they are qualified. They are qualified to deliver their progeny. They are qualified to deliver their children. And that is why it is correct on part of Devahuti to expect that Kardam Muni unites with her. And after the union, they beget a child who's going to be in the same qualities as Kardam Muni. And in the past, we've heard about this, that Devhuti is the daughter of Manu, a great devotee and a very big, I would say, a king. She had all the facilities of a princess, and she would enjoy everything. She had so many dasis, she had so many maidservants who would take care of her for all her needs. Nevertheless, when she got married to Kardam Muni, she gave up all of that. She was doing everything, even the menial list of the services in the ashram of Kardam Muni, and helping him, do the yagnas, do the activities to, please the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to chant the mantras. Though she may not be all that qualified in the previous couple of verses that we have seen, that she was not all that qualified and she was not doing the tapa all by herself, but she was helping Kardam Muni execute his duties very, very nicely. In every action of Kardam Muni, in the service of the Lord, she was involved. And while a lady, she may not be doing the service directly to the Lord, if she is involved, when she has a great husband and a good husband and a Vaishnava husband or a great devotee husband, if she's assisting him, she gets the benefit of the seva that has been done to the Lord. And we also discussed in the past, similar example is given of Mother Parvati and Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva was a great devotee. He is a great devotee, and Lord Shiva is also known as Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu. Among the Vaishnavas, Shiva is the greatest. And while Mother Parvati was serving him, again, Mother Parvati comes from a very, very aristocratic background. And when she comes from an aristocratic background, she had left everything. While Lord Shiva would sit under one tree sometime, another tree sometime, he would always be wandering. He did not have a permanent place. Forget about having a palace or any such thing. He did not even have a permanent place, but still, Mother Parvati kept serving him. And that's how the perfection of life happens. Here also we see Mother Devahuti has been serving Kardam Muni for such a long time without caring for her bodily comfort or her bodily requirements. And that's where Kardam Muni was very happy. The Lord will also be very happy when the Lord sees us supporting our spouses in their spiritual life. So here Devahuti is rightfully asking for her expectations of being procreator, a joint procreator. The meaning of Stri is explained here in this verse. Prabhupada says Stri means who is to be expanding. So Stri is responsible for expansion of the family, and here she is rightfully asking her expectations of being expanded. So she says, you have promised me that before going to the forest, you will unite with me, and then we will have a nice progeny. Well, here Srimad Bhagavatam is compared to having a bath in a holy river. Now we see there are so many ghats, in near Bangalore. So you have Kaveri Ghat near Srirangpatna. You have Kesi Ghat in Vrindavan. In Banaras, you have so many Ganga Ghats. It is very important that we always see that the ghats are the same. So there was a very nice story about one person who was living in Banaras, and he would go to the Ganga Ghat every day and have bath. And one day he thought to himself, saying that it is the same ghat, it is the same thing, I do the same thing every day, I come here in the morning, I take bath, so it is the same thing. But the Lord makes him realize, saying that the ghat may be the same, but the water is not the same, because the water is flowing. Because every day there's a new water which is being generated. There's new water which is being coming in and moving out. So we may be hearing Krishna Katha every day. We may be hearing the same topics over and over again. Srila Prabhupada many times discusses the same thing and we feel if it is repetitive. But the emotions of the listeners and the speaker are changing every day. Yesterday also we were talking about Devahuti and Kardam Muni. Day before yesterday also, the whole of this chapter. So today is the 10th sloka. For the last 8 weeks we have been talking about the lamentation of Devahuti. Now, when we've been talking about lamentation of Devahuti, it is not the same. This needs to be understood very well. The emotions of the listener as well as the speakers are changing every day. And to inspire us and to make us more determined, Srimad Bhagavatam is given us to expand our bhakti. And not only bhakti, even more so to expand our jnana and vairagya. So it is very important that we hear Srimad Bhagavatam in that mood, saying that every day there is something new. Srila Prabhupada gives such nice purports to all the shlokas that we hear. And it is basically to, as I said, to expand our bhakti and to expand our jnana and vairagya. There's a very nice story about Bhakti Devi and her 2 children. So Bhakti Devi has 2 children. Their names are Jnana and Vairagya. And what happens once Bhakti Devi travels with Jnana and Vairagya? They are beautiful. Bhakti Devi is beautiful. Jnana and Vairagya, young boys, very nice. So what happens is they're traveling towards, well, this is said, so I'm saying this out of my hearing, and this is not something that I have derived out of my own understanding. So Bhakti Devi, Jnana and Vairagya were all traveling all over India, in all the states. Everywhere they went, they would go and see the places and come around. And they are traveling in the state of Gujarat, and all the 3 become very old. Their bodily, effulgence becomes, or their body becomes very, very old. So they're just thinking, why is this happening when we are traveling through this part of the country? It is said that there is no value for bhakti, there was no value for jnana, there was no value for vairagya. And that's where they become very old. And then they travel towards the north and they come towards Vrija. In Vraj, it is a very nature that, it is very natural. Bhakti became very young, but the old children, that is Jnana and Vairagya, still continue to be old. It's a contrast. The mother is very young, Bhakti Devi is very young, whereas Jnana and Vairagya are old. They still continue to be old. So Bhakti Devi is crying over this, saying that, oh my God, what is happening here? My children who are much, much younger to me are still old. They seem to be very old. But then at the same time, Narad Muni passes by and he inquires the reason for her lamentation. And Bhakti Devi says that my children are very old here. And the reason for Jnana and Vairagya to be old is that Vrajavasis do not care about Jnana and Vairagya. They only care about their devotional service, their bhakti towards the Lord. Their relationship with the Lord there is of, very different nature. There they treat him as one among them. It's one of their boys, Vrajavasi boys. So there is no value for Jnana and Vairagya. So Narad Muni was asked for help. So he goes around and, checks with the sages and, the Munis, Rishi Munis for help. Finally, here Lord Narayan gives him a solution that if Srimad Bhagavatam is recited in the region of Braj, Jnana and Vairagya will become youthful. That is how Srimad Bhagavatam was spoken in Braj, and both the boys became very youthful. So it is very important that bhakti be accompanied by jnana and vairagya. So we have to read about Srimad Bhagavatam, we have to worship the Lord, we have to serve the Lord. It's a combination which is very important that one needs to understand. And here also it is said, we earlier discussed about Devahuti being the daughter of Manu Maharaj, and she was always serving the husband. And the child always imbibes the qualifications of father and mother, but more so to do with the father. Wife is also known as Jaya. What is Jaya? Jaya means mother. But there's a contradiction here. How can a wife become the mother? So, because the wife gives birth to a child who has all the qualities of a father, so she becomes the mother of this child who has all the qualities of the father. So that is why mother is also referred as Jaya. Now, as we move forward, we have to also see here in the purport, it is the piousness of Kardamuni and Devahuti that we are talking about. And as we refer to this, it is said that the mother actually gives bhakti to the children. It is always seen that mother has a bigger influence on children. For all of us also, there would be a lot of influence. I remember my mother and my grandmother having a lot of influence on the bhakti, because my father would be busy with his profession. So he would go in the morning and come back in the night. And we would spend a lot of time with my mother and my grandmother when we were very small. So there's a lot of influence that the mother makes in the pious growth or the bhakti growth of the children. There's a very nice saying, very nice two lines. Janani jane to bhaktajan, se data ke sur, nahi to janani banj rahe, vyarth gavahi nanur. This is a very popular saying. It says, if you want to give a child, if you want to give a birth to a child, so be him a devotee. A mother should give birth to a child who's a devotee, or he serves the others, or he does a lot of charity, or he is valiant. Valiant is courageous. So a child should have these qualities of being a devotee, a serving nature, being courageous. Otherwise, it is better to remain without a child. Banj is somebody who cannot bear children. A lady who cannot bear children is called Banj. And it is always better to remain a Banj if you cannot deliver a child, if you cannot have a child who's devotee, who's serving the Lord, or who's not doing charity, or who's not courageous. Because what happens is, we've all seen that the lady loses a lot of her youth, or loses the complete youth while giving birth to a child. The birth of a child is not an easy thing. For some of you who have seen it, it's the toughest thing that the mother goes through in her lifetime. Srila Prabhupada laughingly once made this statement saying that many women will join ISKCON in order to get good husband. There's nothing wrong to get a good sattvic husband, because the end result is that they will have a good progeny. What Srila Prabhupada meant was that there were a lot of good devotees under ISKCON, and a lot of women, Matajis, will join ISKCON just to marry this good husband. And as I said, the progeny, which is good for the world, is very good for the parents as well. There was one very nice, small, again, humorous story about Devamrit Swami. When Devamrit Maharaj was once visiting his parents, his mother, who are very wealthy, mother and father both were there, and they were very wealthy. So when Devamrit Maharaj was sitting with his mother, he was already a sannyasi by then. And the mother said, Devamrit, I'm an ardent Christian. I'm a devoted Christian. And when I was conceiving, I was praying to the God to give me a good son. But I was praying to the God to give me a good son of God. So, Maharaj immediately answered saying that, yes, so am I. I'm a good servant of the God. So then the conversation happens like this, saying that, but I'm a Christian, but you've gone and joined the Hare Krishna movement. So he says, Mother, you asked for a good son of God. So they've given me a good son. They've made me a good son of God. I'm a devotee of the Lord. I'm the son of the God. So that's a nice conversation that Devamrit Maharaj had with his mother. And that's why I'm made a devotee. That's what he said. So it is very important at the time of conceiving, whatever is our mindset is what gets passed on to the child. It is also popularly known that within our circles and even outside, we always say that when a lady conceives, she should read the pastimes of Prahlad Maharaj to have a good progeny. Because if we go back and hear the pastime of Prahlad Maharaj also, when Prahlad Maharaj was in the womb of his mother, Narad Muni had come there and he was talking about Srimad Bhagavatam. And that is how Prahlad Maharaj became a great devotee of the Lord. So it is advised that when devotees are planning for this Garbhadhana samsara and samskara, and post that, devotees should read the pastimes of Prahlad Maharaj. Here, Devhuti is also not only looking at a good husband when she married Kardam Muni, she's also looking at that she will also get a good husband and also a good lineage. So there's a very nice story in Mahabharata as well. When Satyavati requested Vyasadeva, because she knew that this Amba, Ambalika, and the third one was the maid. And for them to carry on this lineage, they needed somebody to succeed them. So Mother Satyavati requested Vyasadeva to actually impregnate. Well, impregnate does not mean that there has to be a physical contact. Here in this case, we see Vyasadeva, when he impregnated Amba Ambalika, it is the mindset which is very important. When Amba and Ambalika were impregnated, they were thinking about various other things, the bodily platform of Vyasadeva, and one of them got scared while looking at Vyasadeva because he was long beard and all such things. So Amba and Ambalika did not have good children. One had a blind child, that was Dhritarashtra, and the second one had a unhealthy child, a pale child, who was Pandu. But at the same time, the maid servant was also impregnated, but she was in a very nice phrase of mind. She was always thinking about the Lord. She was always worshipping the Lord. And when Vasudeva was impregnating her, she was thinking about the holy name of the Lord and the Lord himself. And that's how she gave birth to Vidura. Vidura is a Mahatma. So we see here that the mental condition of the mother is very important when she gives birth, or even before she gives birth, when she impregnates or when she is pregnant. If the girls are looking at exterior features, they may go wrong, like Amba and Ambalika went wrong. So there was one time that Radha Govinda Maharaj was traveling. These are nice anecdotes and nice learnings from our acharyas who talk about this. He was traveling. He was in the US, and he was challenged by a gentleman there, saying that why God appears only in India and not elsewhere. So Maharaj, very nicely and very laughingly says, God is also looking at qualified mother and father. Hence, he is taking birth in India. You will find good people, sattvic people, people who are worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's why you will find a lot of people in India. And that's why he said, God takes birth in India. And if people of Australia and America also become good, become purified, then Lord will also take birth here. So the background of this is saying that both father and mother have to be very, very qualified. When I mean qualified devotees, then only they can become good parents. Mother Devhuti served her husband very nicely and then remained with him and reminded him about the promise of her husband's, and which he had done to his parents. And therefore, before you go to the forest, you'll have to unite me, is what she says. Now again, when the child is born, and especially if it is a female child, then she remains under constant protection of three people. When she's born, she's under the protection of the father. When she gets married, she gets the protection of the husband. And when the husband leaves or goes to the forest or, becomes a sannyasi, then she's under the protection of the son. Likewise, Devhuti also, she was under the protection of her father initially. Then she was under the protection of Kardam Muni. And then she also desired that her husband unite with her. Her husband unites with her and then gives a good progeny so that she can be, taken care by the child. Ramayana, there's a very nice story. When Dashrath Maharaj, all of us know that, but Dashrath Maharaj had many queens, but then among them 3 principal queens were there. And when Lord Ramachandra and Mata Sita were married, and when they were brought back, when they were coming back, so these 3 principal queens of Dashrath Maharaj were waiting to see them. And in India, we have this very nice, I would say, formality, or a very nice thing of taking out the vial, which is called muh dikhai. Yeah. So when you do this, rasam of muh dikhai, you have to give something to the lady of the house, the newlywed Sita Mata. So Kaushalya was the first one to look at her, and when they say, what are you giving to her in muh dikhai? So she takes the hand of Lord Ramachandra and gives it to Mother Sita and says, from today, Lord Ramachandra is yours, and that's my muh dikhai. Okay. And something very nice, something biggest possible on earth that I could give. I'm giving away my son to you, who's the Lord himself. When it came to the turn of Kaikeyi Mata, she was thinking, what should I do? And then when she got this opportunity of the muh dikhai, that is, opening the vial and looking at the beautiful Sita Mata, she said, I give you the Kanak Mahal. And Mother Kaikeyi, as all of us know, was very favorite of Dashrath Maharaj. And she would get the best of the possible things. And Kanak Mahal, which was the best of the palaces, was given by Kaikeyi to Sita Mata as a muh dikhai. And then comes the turn of Sumitra. When Sumitra Mata was looking at Mother Sita, and when people asked her, what is the muh dikhai that you're going to give? She takes the hand of Lakshman and gives it in the hand of Sita Mata, saying that now he's going to be always with you, always taking care of you and Lord Ramachandra. Such a nice tendency that the mother has here. The qualities of the mother actually goes to the child. And all along the life, Lakshman always served Lord Ramachandra. He was just married. What is his wife's name? Urmila. He was just married just at that point of time. But when he was given, the hand of Lakshman was given to Mother Sita and Ramachandra as a servant. When I mean giving the hand, is giving him as a servant. He served all through the life. When Lord Ramachandra and Sita were to go to the forest, he said, I'm also going to go there. And following this, there was a little very nice conversation where when he was to go to the forest, Lord Ramachandra requested him, saying that, please go and ask your mother, take her permission. And when Lakshman goes to his mother Sumitra and says that, can I go to the forest with Lord Ramachandra? I have this desire, but Lord Ramachandra has asked me to ask you about your permission. Mother Sumitra says, you don't require my approval to go with Lord Ramachandra. I have already given you as his servant and Sita Mata's servant. So you look at the qualities of a mother and the child, when the mother brings up the child very nicely, the qualities are so nice that, whatever mother says, they have to do it. And the qualities of woman is having such a great faith and bhav. That is how, it shows here. There's a very nice story again at the end of Mahabharata, at the end of the fight with Ravana. Lakshman and Ramchandra were sitting together. And Lakshman says, Lord Ramachandra, can I ask you a question? So this is again all talking about Vatsalya. This is where I want you to understand this, story in that context of Vatsalya. Lakshman comes to Lord Ramachandra and he has a question. He says, you and I are born from the same father. And all our mothers loved us equally. We went to the same Gurukul to study. Everything has been same. But I have a question as to how is that when we were fighting with Ravana, Meghanath, the brother of Ravana, was able to injure me. Lakshmana is saying this, that he was able to injure me, but he could not do anything to you. So here, to this question, Lord Ramchandra answers saying that, yes, what you said is right. There's absolutely no difference between both of us. We were born to the same father. Our mothers loved her very equally. We went to the same Guru. We did everything same. But Lakshmana, please think of this. We went to Mother Shabari. when Shabri welcomed us in her ashram, and then she was giving us those the gooseberries, the berries. She was actually tasting it, and the sweet ones are ones that she was giving it to you and me. Those who were not sweet were being thrown away from there. Well, I ate all the berries very well. The bear, nicely what she gave me, though they were tasted, they were supposed to be, jhutha or shabri, but I ate all of them. But I noticed that whenever she gave it to you, you actually, when we were not noticing, we were throwing it away. And by giving those bear, Mother Shabri had put a Vatsalya Kavach around us. Okay? And that is how I was protected in the war when Meghnad attacked you, but he could not do anything to me. At the same time, Lord Ramachandra also reminds him that the same berries became Sanjeevani Booty when you were brought back to life after the Sanjeevani Booty was caught by Hanuman. So never we should doubt the Vatsalya of a mother. Mother is always very, very, very towards their children. She has this Vatsalya Rasa or Vatsalya Prema. We should never doubt the Vatsalya of a mother or a devotee. And all our mothers, I'm sure whatever we are today, a lot of credit goes to our parents, and especially our mother. I'm sure all of you will also agree with it. It is also said that, if a person is sitting on Vyasasana and if he sees his father coming in, he can offer pranams, he can offer prayer sitting on the Vyasasana. But if a person sees his mother coming and if he's sitting on a Vyasasana, he should actually get down from the Vyasasana and offer his obeisances to the mother and go back to the Vyasasana. So that important is mother. So these sacrifices, the prayers, and the blessings and the Vatsalya of the mother is what has brought us to this level. So we should all become very, very responsible in executing our duties in the moment. It is not very nice that we displease our parents because they put in a lot of efforts to bring us to this level. And especially when our parents are Krishna conscious or they're supporting us or, they have been very supportive of us in our spiritual life. So it is an important responsibility. This is in context to what we see that Mother Devhuti is expecting a Krishna conscious child, and she has been talking to Kardam Muni for a progeny, which will be like Kardam Muni, a great devotee of the Lord. So Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita are basically like curtains, Even on a very sunny day, if you put the curtain, the most powerful sunlight cannot enter into that particular area. Likewise, if we cover our life with the curtain of Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and the other Shastras, Maya will not enter into our life and we can be protected always. So I will end the conversation here on this topic of Srimad Bhagavatam today. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to take them. Or if there are any comments from the devotees, I'm happy to accept them. Thank you very much. Okay, so if there are no questions, we will close our conversation, our discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam today. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. It's wonderful to have all the devotees here with us. Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.